Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carey. Thanks for stopping by today. We're talking about sober dating. Yes, we are. Comes up all the time with clients because it's a question I ask in my screening process. I ask, do you drink alcohol? Because it used to be most people would say yes. And nowadays it's people with very mixed answers. And oftentimes the people who are no longer drinking on dates, in my experience, the people I'm talking to, clients and candidates for them, feel a little awkward and need some guidance. Clients have said, oh, by the way, during a screening, during a welcome meeting, have said, I don't drink. Do you want to let people know? And I said, don't feel weird about that. More and more over the last couple years, all of my people have been telling me, a big percentage of people, that they don't drink. And while some of them feel self-conscious about that and don't know how to handle that, we'll talk about that today. But also, I'm bringing up a study that I read. It was by some of the dating sites sharing some statistics on young people dating. So my experience that I'm talking about is typically with people 30 and older. These studies are talking about people younger than that, so we can get a nice cross-section of what's trending and which way the pendulum is swinging as far as drinking and dating and sober dating. If you think that you'll find that interesting, I hope you'll stick around for the conversation because that is what's on the agenda. And if you're new here, I'm Carey. I'm a matchmaker, a dating coach, and this channel is about dating and relating. So I hope you'll take a look for that subscribe button too. Let's get to it. I'd say about 30 to 40% of the people I screen are telling me that they don't drink. And there's a bigger percentage, I understand, of people who just don't drink on dates. We've always had that, 2-drink maximum, which I oftentimes refer to as a 2-drink minimum. It just always for some period of time flowed out of my mouth like that. Don't forget, 2-drink minimum. They're like, what? But 2-drink maximum. And that came to me from years ago watching Patty Stanger, the millionaire matchmaker, always said 2 drinks maximum. And with good reason. We start making decisions based on the alcohol and not our good common sense after a couple drinks. And also people complain about their date when somebody's had one too many. And sometimes people don't know where they are in that process. Could be that their usual isn't going to be usual anymore because they haven't eaten or they didn't sleep well or they ate something that's going to mess with their system and their blood alcohol levels. So where was I? Many people, thank you. So many people don't drink on dates, even though they will have a glass of wine with friends or family or even by themselves with dinner, things like that. So that's part of what I've seen. But these younger people, they seem to have a whole different approach going on now, which involves quite a few people not drinking, especially on dates. So much for liquid courage. Let's talk about these studies. So a couple different dating sites put up some studies. So Tinder did one of them, and of the young people surveyed, 25% said that they are drinking less on dates this year than they did last year. And then interestingly, 75% of the people surveyed said that it is on their dating profile that they do not drink on dates. They're putting it front and center and actually stating this in case it's a problem for anybody. And I don't think it should be a problem. I've always told people we don't have to make a big to-do about it. Just go out and have a Diet Coke, and you don't have to make excuses for yourself because you don't want to swallow something toxic on a first date. That's up to, it's your prerogative. You don't have to let people know ahead of time. But if in fact you're looking for somebody who is the same, most of those people were comfortable if somebody else wanted a cocktail while they abstained. But if you also want to date somebody who's not drinking, you might have to put that on your profile. And 75% of these young people were doing that. They said that they don't drink on dates, and if they do drink in regular life, it's rarely. And that was what most people, the 75%? 72% said. And interestingly, Australia was also a part of this study. And in Australia, 82% of the singles said they preferred dating sober. Another thing I found interesting was that women who put that they are sober on their dating profiles got 29% more swipes right. That's the ones you like. Right is like. You're right for me, maybe. That's how I remember it. 29% more right swipes for having that on their profile than did people who did not mention that they date sober. So it seems to be a desirable trait too, interestingly. Didn't quite go the same way with men, actually. They didn't actually give a percentage for the men, but they found the desirability quotient actually went down a little bit when men came out and stated initially on their profile that they were not drinkers or were not going to drink on a first date. Which leads me back to what I was suggesting in the first place. Let's not make a big to-do about it. Just don't drink. Do drink. Don't leave somebody there with a beverage and you like sitting there with nothing to sip on. Get a water, a bottled water, or sparkling water, or diet soda, whatever you want. Virgin Bloody Mary, whatever floats your boat, but you don't have to say, I won't be drinking. It's natural, right? It's natural to choose to eat what you want, to drink what you want. Let's not make this into an issue because it doesn't have to be an issue unless you make it one. And then I was kind of thinking that it makes sense that people are not drinking on first dates when you look at the fact that first dates are changing recently. A lot of people have always done dinner dates or drink dates, coffee sometimes, right? People are definitely veering away from the dinner dates, which I've never been a fan of. And now they're even veering away from my go-to cocktails and appetizer dates because they're leaning in towards dates that are more adventure-driven, a little bit just different, an activity-based date perhaps, more likely to go for a walk, much more likely to go for a walk than a meal these days. That is a trend that I'm seeing and that they're seeing as well. Trying to be more creative in the planning of dates than we have in years past, and that pretty much goes hand in hand with not having alcohol on hand, I guess, to continue with the metaphor. So no reason to be having drinks if you're just going on a walk or you're going to play mini golf or, pick up Subway and have a sandwich at the park, whatever you're doing. If you're not sitting in a cocktail bar or a restaurant bar or with a wine list on the table at a restaurant, it's easy to skip having drinks, and that seems to be what's happening. And then I have 3 more points to share with you before I move on to the other study that I came across. The other study is Bumble. The reason that they're assuming that people are drinking less is obviously because more people are into health and wellness. My body is a temple. I'm going to treat it as such. There's just more of that. People working really hard to stay fit and healthy and recognizing that alcohol isn't advancing the progress in that area, that it's a deterrent to a healthy lifestyle for some people, and they're just bypassing it. So there's more of that, the health and wellness factor. Secondly, financial decision. Since COVID, a lot of people either started drinking or stopped drinking because of financial reasons. No work, no extra money, no alcohol, and it became a habit, and prices haven't come down. It's cost prohibitive to be drinking alcohol right now, especially if you're on a date at a nice place. 2 or 3 drinks for both people with food, that can really run up a hefty bill. It's one of the reasons I always negated dinner dates. I don't think for a first date, and especially my first dates, which are blind dates, anybody should be stuck with $100 dinner bill and, a 3-hour time commitment if you wait a few minutes for a table. It's just too much of a commitment, so both financially and time. So with inflated pricing, 1/3 of the people said the reason they weren't drinking on dates was because it was cost prohibitive. And then, a lot of people did mention that some of their dates are for a run or a walk or yoga or exercise classes. That's what some of the younger people are doing for a first date. I get the yoga class and a walk for sure. The other one's not really my date ideas, but I have sent people rock climbing. That was super fun. But afterwards they went for a drink. And then the last one was just sober curious. Just people wondering what it feels like to not be dating and drinking and or just spending their weekends consuming alcohol. So being sober curious was another reason that people stated they were drinking less on or not at all on dates. Bumble did a post-COVID survey, and 56% of people said that they're now dating sober just for a clear mind. They just wanted to be in the moment and actually have presence of mind to be engaged with this person and focused on them and the process. They felt they were better without alcohol, both evaluating the date and in their own communication. So they were just skipping it. And then I started with some of my older clients. We did some younger people, and to balance that out, I would say that a lot of my 40 people are up for very different types of dates too. And I'm seeing more and more of them actually passing on drinking on dates. And it comes back in feedback sometime. Somebody will say to me, she didn't drink. Do you think that that was all right that I did? I'm like, yeah, totally fine. I didn't know she wasn't going to drink, but if she chose not to, no big deal, right? You had a nice time. Yeah. So I am just noticing more of that. So I think it's a trend. I think the pendulum is swinging back from all dates having alcohol as part of the one partner in the date. And I think it could be a very positive thing. As for you, I think you should do what makes you comfortable. And I don't think you need alcohol to be the social lubricant that people think they need. I think that people really value great communication and authenticity these days. And if you're better at that without alcohol in the mix, then give it a try. And if that's just always how you've dated and you want to have a glass of wine with dinner, then do that. It's up to you. To each their own, I say, and I'm not judging anybody for their choices. So I hope you found that helpful and or interesting. And if you did, I hope you'll give the episode a thumbs up like my mom is suggesting right there. That's my mother. I'll look forward to having you back again. So I'd love if you'd subscribe and hit the ring bell so you're notified every time a new episode goes live. Appreciate you stopping by today. And until next time, have a good one.